All right, so a couple things to talk about today. We're going to start off with kind of going over some parts of Trump's first cabinet meeting in his second term, and then in another video we're going to go over the new tariffs that may be coming. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to start off here from NBC News. I'm not going to read this whole article. I have some things highlighted, and we're also going to watch a couple clips here. And then there's just a couple things, mainly one thing I wanted to ask our mega consultant about, ChatGPT. If you don't know, I use ChatGPT to disprove MAGA claims, because if ChatGPT has any political bias, it would be right-leaning based on, you know, it's AI, it's owned by people who are part of Project Stargate, which was signed within like the first week or two of Trump's second term. So that's why I like to use it. If there's any bias, it should be right-wing. So it's fun to use their own tools against them. So we're going to start off with this clip here of Elon Musk, surprise, surprise, dominated a lot of this cabinet meeting. Elon Musk, richest man in the world, dominating our cabinet meetings.
Employees so far appear to have responded to your request for what they've been doing over the past week. Is there a timeline in place for next moves for people being fired, and when can people expect to see results of them?
Yes. Well, to be clear, I think that email perhaps was best interpreted as a performance review, but actually it was a pulse check review. Do you have a pulse? Do you have a pulse and two neurons? So if you have a pulse and two neurons, you can reply to an email. This is, I think not a high bar.
I don't know. I don't know what's more pathetic. The people who are, I don't know if that's reporters or it might be a few cabinet members just hysterically laughing. Like, it's almost like a forced laugh. You hear someone in the background like coughing, like they're about to die from, that kind of stuff. Or Elon's attempt to kind of backpedal on his claims about like, hey, I made it clear when I sent this first email. I didn't make it clear in the email, but I made it clear in X. If you don't respond, this is basically a resignation. And then, it comes out, no, that was just a pulse check. We weren't going to read them anyways. You're not going to get fired. And then they come out again. It's like, we're going to send another one. If you don't respond to that one, you'll be fired. And then it's like, no. No one knows what's happening. These people don't know what they're doing. And can you imagine the amount of just money that was wasted of employee time having to to respond to these emails that are never even going to be read by like an actual person? From experience, if I got like an email like that, I'd probably take like a good bit of time filling it out, because it's just with the situation, because I'd just be terrified that I'm going to lose my job. So just imagine the time that some people or a lot of people may have wasted just writing this email. Government time, government money, probably in the ballpark of millions. It went to millions of employees. So take what they make an hour and boom. That's a couple dozen million you probably just wasted right there. That's not a lot on the scale of the government, but people don't care. They brag about cutting 20 million to, this cancer research or this scientific study. Like, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Bar is what I'm saying. This is anyone can accomplish this. But what we are trying to get to the bottom of is we think there are a number of people on the government payroll who are dead, which is probably why they can't respond. And some people who are not real people, like they're literally fictional individuals that are collecting paychecks. Well, somebody's collecting paychecks on a fictional individual. So we're literally trying to figure out, are these people real? Are they alive? And can they write an email? Which I think is a reasonable expectation for the American public would have at least that expectation of someone in the public sector.
Mr. Musk, roughly 1 million employees.
It's not a high bar, guys. Come on.
So, it's a pulse check. Everyone should be able to respond to an email. If this just doesn't show the carelessness that they're showing, just going through and rampaging our government. Okay, I've gone over this 100 times, but I know what it's like to work in a large corporation. In a large corporation, everyone might have a work email, but there's a lot of people, depending on the nature of their position, where they don't check that email often because it's just not pertinent to their job duties. Like like a lot of maintenance staff, cleaning staff, uh, even drivers. Like they don't. There's just so many random jobs that don't require you to check your email, and it's kind of like a lot of boomer jobs too. Like, I mean that in the nicest way possible, but these people, unless they're expecting an email, they're not going to be checking their work email often. That's just how it is because their job doesn't require them to. They're able to perform their duties and blah blah blah. If they need contacted, their manager calls them or texts them. Not everyone checks their email, okay? Like, I don't know how to make that more clear. Just because they have a work email doesn't mean they're glued to it and using it. Some people, their job like requires them to only check their email like once a month. And I imagine that scale that I just described is a lot bigger in the government. You have a lot more people like that. Insanity.
Roughly a million.
And just look at this, man. These are the leaders of our country. Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, the only qualified person, and he's still a monster. Fucking Doug Burgum, and then RFK, Linda McMahon. Like, this is Elon Musk. This is crazy. I can't believe this is the world we're living in. In this press conference, or cabinet meeting, they also say, Elon says, this is the greatest cabinet ever assembled in U.S. history. The smartest, the most qualified. Okay.
Employees have responded so far to this email. Does that mean that the remaining 1 million or so federal employees now risk being terminated? And is it your understanding and expectation when you post a directive on X that the cabinet secretaries will follow that order? Because several agencies have.
Look at JD Vance, man. This dude is. Every time a reporter asks a question or anything mildly annoying that like the right wingers don't like, and JD Vance is around, just look at his face. He just can't help himself but to make the most disgusted faces. I think of when they were at that church ceremony or that prayer, and that preacher or whatever was saying like, hey, let's be nice to these undocumented people and let's show a little compassion. He's just sitting there like, okay,
Have
I'm sorry.
instructed employees that this is voluntary or not to respond.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I guess there was like last week, the president encouraged me via Truth Social and also via phone call to be more aggressive. And I was like, okay, yes, sir, Mr. President, we'll indeed do that. The president is the commander in chief. I do what the president asks. And I said, can we send out an email to everyone just saying, what did you get done last week? And the president said yes, so it did that. We got a partial response. We're going to send another email. But our goal is not to be capricious or unfair. We want to give people every opportunity to send an email. And the email could simply be, what I'm working on is too sensitive or classified to describe. Like literally just, that would be sufficient. I think this is just common sense.
And what is your target number for how many workers, employees you're looking to cut total?
We wish to keep everyone who is doing a job that is essential and doing that job well. But if the job is not essential or they're not doing the job well, they obviously should not be on the public payroll.
This whole essential thing is so annoying because we already have so many government agencies that are understaffed, like the FAA, the VA, both which have undergone hundreds of firings. And I don't know what their obsession is with essential because, for one, they don't know what essential is. We've seen them, and they admit it in this. Take away funding for like Ebola research and prevention. They reinstated it, but they still took it away because they don't know what they're doing. They fired like 1,000 of our nuclear watchdogs, or just the people who maintain our nuclear stockpile and weapons. Had to go scramble to get them all back. Like, you don't know what essential is, and there are a lot of like you. Okay, I understand if you're like a janitor or cleaning staff, yeah, you're technically not essential to the operation for them, so you're gone. Are you a cook in the White House or something? Not essential. You're gone. We've already seen maintenance staff, safety staff. You're not essential. You're gone because, we can get by day to day without you just fine. Even though, like, these people play such, like, invisible, important roles. And I bring up the safety and maintenance thing because we've already seen hundreds of firings of safety and maintenance staff for the Federal Aviation Administration. And and they're also firing like medical researchers working on cancer research. Yeah, sure, you're not essential for us to get by day to day, but you're doing important work nonetheless. Same with inspectors who may test our water for certain chemicals, toxins, lead, whatever, testing our air quality. Yeah, you're doing an important job, but you're not essential for us to get by day to day. Like, they just want to slim everything down, and that's not efficient. They say it's efficient because it's less people, but it's going to make things go slower. It's going to make things more dangerous. And I just can't. And I always say this, if you take away all these other supplemental positions, the work, like, things still need cleaned. Things will still, I hope, need inspected or whatever. You're going to have to, people who are essential are going to have to take on more work from these supplemental positions that are still really important. Anyways. So yeah, the group was nominees who haven't even been confirmed, and they were also joined by Elon Musk. And yeah, Trump's first cabinet meeting outlined the hierarchy in his administration, with many of the Senate confirmed department heads spending an hour as audience members after the president gave the floor to Musk at the top of the meeting. Trump secretaries watched as Musk, standing at the edge of a long table, explained DOGE and its work as a support function for the president and for the agencies and departments to help achieve those savings effectively, and 15% reduction in fraud and waste. And we bring the receipts. Yeah, most of your receipts have been wrong or completely mischaracterized and framed in a way like you're cutting something that's terrible and we shouldn't be funding when it was actually kind of important. Invited to ask questions of Musk, one reporter wondered why Trump had felt the need early Wednesday to declare that his cabinet stood behind his cost-cutting ally. Had Musk heard anything about members of the cabinet who weren't pleased with his directives? And then Trump said, all cabinet members are extremely happy with Elon. He wrote on True Social. The media will see that. And then, so like during the meeting, Trump's like, is anybody unhappy? Trump asked around the room. And then I forget who started the applause, but someone started the applause and everyone just started clapping away like seals. Like, yes, we're so happy for Elon. He's so good. He's doing such good things. I can't. It's a cult. It's a cult. Trump later called the order from Musk somewhat voluntary after Musk on Monday insisted that a non-response could lead to termination. So just more in that back and forth. And this is on the outbreak. Let's watch. There's currently a measles outbreak in Texas. Let's see what our great Health and Human Services Secretary has to say about it.
There's a measles outbreak in Texas at the moment in which a child is reported to have died. Do you have concerns about that, and have you asked Secretary Kennedy to look into that?
Well, why don't we, Bobby, do you want to speak on that?
We are following the measles epidemic every day. I think there's 124 people who have contracted measles at this point, mainly in Kings County, Texas. Mainly, we're told, in the Mennonite community. There are 2 people who have died, but we're watching it, and there are about 20 people hospitalized, mainly for quarantine. We're watching it. We put out a post on it yesterday, and we're going to continue to follow it. Incidentally, there have been 4 measles outbreaks this year. In this country last year, there were 16. So it's not unusual. We have measles outbreaks every year.
It's not unusual, he says. So I was kind of interested in that. And we're going to go to ChatGPT in a second regarding that point. But let's see what NBC kind of said about it first. So the measles death was the first in U.S. since 2015. So about 10 years. And the first measles death of a child in the U.S. since 2003. So like 22 years ago, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. And then they talked about how they're going to be replacing like green cards with gold cards. So a green card, just from a quick Google search, was like, I don't know, $3,000 to $5,000, and this gold card is going to cost $5 million. And he also hinted that Russian oligarchs are free to take up on that gold card and come to the U.S. And then he railed against the Biden administration and about his, our Afghanistan withdrawal. Yeah, it was kind of chaotic, rushed, terribly planned, but at the end of the day, getting out of Afghanistan was the right thing to do. And then he also added that he was not surprised Russia invaded Ukraine amid the fallout. So he's implying that one of the reasons that Russia invaded Ukraine was because of our pullout from Afghanistan. Crazy. All this guy does is blame, 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 blame. In all fairness to Putin, in all fairness to Putin, when he saw that, he said, well, this is our time to go and go into Ukraine, I guess. Dude, all he does is like provide cover for Putin and then just absolutely just takes a dump on Zelensky and any other Western Democratic leader. So back to the measles. I put RFK's quote, and I asked, how true is this statement? RFK's statement regarding measles outbreak in the United States contains some inaccuracies. He mentioned there have been 4 measles outbreaks this year in the country. Last year there were 16, so it's not unusual. However, data from the CDC indicates that in 2024 there were 16 measles outbreaks, and as of February there have been 3 outbreaks. So he was right that there were 16, and there's only been 3 this year. Not a big deal. You can mess those numbers a little bit. But the problem here is, so while it's true that measles outbreaks occur annually in the U.S., the number of outbreaks and cases can vary significantly each year. For instance, in 2023, there were 4 outbreaks. In 2024, there were 16 outbreaks. The current outbreak in Texas, which has resulted in 124 cases and 1 death, is the largest in the state in over 30 years. You see a pattern here? First, death in 10 years. First child death in 22 years. Largest outbreak in 30 years. And he's saying, it's not unusual. And you can read this. I'm not going to read through it, but health experts obviously disagree. And it talks about how this is what we're going to be seeing more and more as less people get vaccinated. And we are now in a time where it's like 50-50 if someone's anti-vax or not. I know people who work in the healthcare industry, and I was curious. I was like, before last year, how many anti-vaxxers did you see? Well, first I asked, do you see a lot of anti-vaxxers? Yeah, they do. And I asked, before last year, around the time that RFK came to prominence in his whole anti-vax stuff, which just dragged the entire Republican Party with it, prior to that, there wasn't not many anti-vaxxers at all. And now there's a lot all of a sudden. And this is going to lead to more of not just measles outbreaks, but just outbreaks in general of things that we thought were pretty well contained. So, I don't know, man. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And I will see you in the next one. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to give a special thank you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button down below. And if you really enjoyed it, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button while you're down there. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I will try to reply to any and all comments that I can. Until next time, watch that video on screen.